Welcome back to one of the most extraordinary, vibrant and unpredictable communities in Australia.
He's doing something. Stop, Jane! Stop!
Taronga Zoo. Home to more than 3,400 animals, including species that are rare and endangered in the wild.
It may not make it. I'll do everything I can to keep it going.
Filmed for over a year. We've shared in the joys.
It's been a really good spring. We've actually had 5 joey koalas.
And in some of the most dramatic events in the zoo's history.
A zookeeper is in a critical condition after being crushed by the elephant she's cared for since birth.
And in that moment, I knew he was going to try to challenge me.
Experience wildlife at the zoo closer than ever before. Tonight, a young female sun bear is on the way to help a lonely, psychologically damaged male rescued from the restaurant trade in Cambodia.
He came to us with problems with pacing.
But their first date doesn't go to plan.
It's okay, guys.
A couple of centimetres missing from the tip of her tongue.
And all bets are off when 2 of the rarest and largest animals in the world are brought together to mate for the first time.
Come over here, get away from the fence.
Around the world, zoos act as matchmakers, bringing animals from rare or endangered species together to breed. Genetically, they have to be a perfect match, but there's no telling if their personalities will click. Born in a Cambodian jungle, Mr Hobbs is Taronga's only sun bear. He's been matched with a female who will be arriving in a few days.
Hello. Oh, good boy, Mr Hobbs.
Physically, Mr Hobbs is in perfect shape, but events from his early life have left him psychologically damaged.
It is a real issue with some bears. That's how they learn to cope with stress. He would have learnt to pace, basically, because he had no other way of dealing with his own stress. He had no adult there to look towards to kind of help him deal with the situations that he'd been dealt.
Like these bears, Mr Hobbs' trauma began when he was caught by poachers 15 years ago.
This little bear would have had to have had their mother killed or trapped to be able to get this little guy out of the jungle.
Poachers then sold him to a restaurant where he was held in a cage, waiting to have his limbs removed one by one.
What happens is bear paw soup is a delicacy. They would have waited for him to get to a really good size. And then if somebody very, very wealthy ordered bear paw soup, then his paw would have been cut off without any pain relief. Once all the paws are used up, then the rest of the bear would be served up in other dishes.
But unlike thousands of other sun bears still held in cages all across Asia, Mr Hobbs was rescued by an Australian businessman. When Mr Hobbs arrived at Taronga, he was already pacing. But keepers hope this will improve when he meets his new mate. In the meantime, Mr Hobbs' most significant relationship is with his keepers.
Justine and I have known Hobbsy since he was this tiny little 2-year-old cub, so he's been here since '97. Over time, obviously, you build up that really good, close relationship, and that really helps with any kind of training that you want to do with animals. You've got to have that good trust relationship. They've got to know that you're not going to hurt them. We learnt from a very early age with him that he gets dental calculus or tartar on his teeth. So he gets his teeth brushed every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Hey, Hobbsy.
Hey, big fella.
It's pretty amazing that we can brush his teeth. As far as humans are concerned, they weren't very positive in his life when he was a young bear. So for him to trust us, to hold his mouth open and to let us brush his teeth, and he could walk away from us and not come to us. But he actually comes to the mesh, he sits there, and he waits for us to brush his teeth, and he gets rewarded for it.
Keep going. Good. Good boy. Awesome.
We want his teeth beautiful and shiny and white because he's got a new girlfriend coming very soon. So we're pretty excited about that. He doesn't know about it yet. He will soon enough once she arrives, but that's another reason we want his teeth beautiful.
Keep going. That's it. Keep going. Keep going. Good. Good boy.
300 kilometres away, just outside Canberra, keepers have found the only suitable female match for Mr Hobbs in Australia. Mary, a young Sunbear, is about to leave her mother to begin her adult life at Taronga.
So Mary is, she's 2.5 years old now. She was born here at National Zoo Aquarium in 2010, and she's been a bundle of joy and full of energy the entire time she's been here. Ote was a brilliant mother. She spent a lot of time teaching Mary things to do, the ways to survive. She taught her how to climb. So it's now time for Mary to move off and find her own mate, which is exactly what would happen in the wild. I'm like a proud mother, I suppose, but you know, sometimes you've got to let go, and she's going to have a great life at Taronga.
But no one knows how a 2.5-year-old female Sunbear, who has never been away from her mother, will cope with a 17-year-old psychologically damaged bachelor. A new day at Taronga, and the community of animals here is about to increase by one. Mr Hobbs' new mate Mary will arrive in the next few hours to hopefully transform his life. But back of house, it's work as usual. Keepers prepare a range of activities to keep Mr Hobbs occupied through the day and reduce his pacing.
So this is Mr Hobbs' food for the whole day. So he gets lots of feeds to keep him busy. He's actually got some plain yogurt. This is a high-value food for him. Being a protein, he loves it. So this is something that we can make him work really hard for. His sense of smell is incredible, so he will find that no matter where. So we're going to fold it up. He actually has an enrichment schedule that runs for 31 days, so every day is different for him. Keep him busy, keep him foraging, his natural behaviours that he would in the wild by looking for his food, which in turn helps prevent that pacing to a degree. Pretty soon, though, he is getting a girlfriend, so hopefully all that will go well.
On the other side of the zoo, Mary is arriving after a 4-hour trip from Canberra.
Once we were on the road, it was quite a smooth trip. Along the way, we checked on her just to make sure that she was travelling okay.
Hey, Mary. Hello, sweetie. She looks pretty relaxed. You know, she's really inquisitive, but that's great. That's a good behaviour.
Before she can meet Mr Hobbs, Mary will spend 3 weeks isolated in quarantine to ensure she's not carrying any infectious diseases.
She's just started eating some fruit, so that's a really, really good sign that she's starting to relax and beginning to accept this new den area. She'll probably sleep really, really well tonight.
If all goes well here, Mary will meet her intended mate, Mr Hobbs, in a few weeks.
I'm really hoping that when we go through the introduction process that things are going to turn around for Mr Hobbs. We're hoping that he will play, be exhausted and then rest, instead of needing to pace, instead of needing to seek out keeper company all the time. And I hope that they get along well together and it all becomes just one big positive experience.
Mary the Sunbear has cleared quarantine and has been anaesthetised for the final stage of her journey to the Sunbear's back-of-house area. For the first few days after Mary wakes, Mr Hobbs will be kept away from her as she explores her new environment and gets to know her new keepers.
Hello. You okay? Mary is one crazy little bear. She's been raised by her mum and she's just so confident. She just breaks things that we didn't think were breakable. She climbs things that we didn't think were climbable. She's just an amazing, crazy, full of fun, full of personality, a beautiful, bouncy Sunbear, and we love her already. She's just shown us a very different side to Sunbear behaviour.
There are dangers in bringing together such a vibrant but inexperienced young bear with a powerful but psychologically damaged older one. Their introduction will take place in stages over a few weeks.
I don't want Mr Hobbs to hurt Mary. He's a really strong bear. She's a very young, vulnerable bear. You know, they've got extremely strong claws, extremely strong canines. The potential to hurt each other is massive. Believe it or not, even tigers who share the same habitat will not predate on some bears because they fear the sun bear as well. So we've got a lot at stake here. We don't want to see either of them getting hurt.
Today, Mr Hobbs and Mary will see each other for the first time, but they'll be separated by an empty den.
You'll be able to smell her. They've got an incredible sense of smell. They can smell another bear miles away. So they'll be learning a lot about each other. So they'll be listening to each other, smelling each other.
After 12 days of visual contact, Mary's making overtures to Mr Hobbs, who's outside.
You hear those clucking sounds? They're really, really good sounds. Normally that's only reserved for mother and cubs. So when you hear it between two bears that are unrelated, it is really a very positive sign.
He's a lovely fella.
Now for the next stage. The pair are ready to meet face to face, although for safety reasons they will still be separated by mesh.
Oh, look at him, he's tapping the floor, he knows something new's happening. Wow, look at you! So it's a big step. I think she's really going to teach Mr Hobbs a thing or two. She's been raised beautifully by her mum, so she really is acting like a normal bear. So it's going to be a really, really interesting journey for us and for them. It's really good.
An hour after Mr Hobbs and Mary first touched noses through mesh, there's been a major setback. Mr Hobbs has been sent outside as far away from Mary as possible. She's lying on her hammock, having suffered a serious injury that needs veterinary attention.
Leslie, what's happened?
Well, we were doing the first mesh-to-mesh contact between the two, and it all looked really, really positive. And then, after about 30 minutes, she put her tongue through, and honestly, it was so fast but smooth, and he just bit her tongue off.
Should we have a closer look?
A little bit of honey.
So she's got blood on her lips, but wow, yeah. So she's got a reasonable chunk of her tongue, and there's obviously like an abrasion down the back of her tongue and a big bruise underneath. Obviously not worrying her too much there because she's licking the spoon, but there's a good couple of centimetres missing from the tip of her tongue.
The mesh is only 2 centimetres.
Yeah, amazing.
And I thought that was adequate.
So I'm going to put Mary on some antibiotics and some pain relief medication, just as a precaution. I mean, fortunately, the bears are actually pretty easy to medicate. As you can see, they love honey, so coating a few tablets in honey, it's a guarantee to get it in.
Mary doesn't seem distressed, but the incident has left keepers shaken.
You know, she's here and she's not with her mum anymore, and we're kind of her carers now, and I'd wish that the mesh was smaller. I wish it hadn't happened. We thought we'd taken all the correct steps. And yeah, so it does leave you feeling pretty bad.
Keepers can only hope that long-term this doesn't jeopardise the chances of a successful introduction.
You had a big day, sweetie. Hey? Mary doesn't seem traumatised at all. Tongues heal incredibly fast.
It's only 3 days since Mr Hobbs bit Mary's tongue, and she is recovering well.
She went back to eating immediately, and from that moment onwards, even in the afternoon, she wanted that contact with him.
And Mr Hobbs seems relatively relaxed about Mary.
He's kind of a guy's guy. He likes to do his own thing, but we think that the signs are good. And we can see no aggression.
Finally, the big day has come.
It's going to be a good day. A good day for bears to meet bears, hey?
Mr Hobbs and Mary are ready to meet for the first time without mesh between them. But despite the positive signs, animal behaviour is always unpredictable, and there's no telling how they will react.
Does everybody feel okay about it? The introduction is going to be very nerve-wracking. We're all going to have our hearts in our throats because they are so strong and so vicious, and they have been known to hurt each other.
Keepers are prepared to separate the two, but only in a life-threatening emergency.
We've been told not to intervene too soon, because if we were then to close the slide in the middle of a chase or in the middle of a wrestle, then they're not going to resolve who's who. Hey, Hobbsy. All right, let's get Mary down off that hammock. Mary, come on down. That's a good girl. Come on, sweetie. All right, little bears. Mr Hobbs, I'm going to open the slides, okay? Hey. All right, opening the slide. It's okay. It's okay, guys. Chill out.
On first contact, Mary is the aggressive one.
They're challenging each other. It's very much of a display. This is just all mock behaviour, that they're not making any physical contact with each other. They need to show each other where they stand. They need to sort it out.
It's okay, little bears. Who's that, Mr Hobbs? It's Mary.
When Mary hustles Mr Hobbs back into her den, she assumes a submissive position.
It's okay. Wow, look at you. What do you think, Mr Hobbs? You be a good boy?
After 10 minutes, the mating instincts kick in, just as keepers had hoped.
Mary's being really good about it. She's letting him explore her. She's not posing any threat. She's being nice and calm. He's talking to her nicely. He's getting her into the mating position. He probably wants to let her know that he is the dominant bear here. So he is mounting her.
The mating lasts another 30 minutes with no sign of Mr Hobbs losing interest.
Hang in there, Mary. He's going to get tired soon, sweetie. All right, easy, guys. It's okay, it's okay. She wanted to get up from you, Mr Hobbs. Just give her a break. I think she told him off.
Keepers are happy with the way the bears are exploring their boundaries, so they'll be left together for another hour before being separated for the night.
Every bear introduction is different. We never knew what to expect, but it just worked out really, really well. Whether she is really at a reproductive age yet is yet to be seen, but couldn't have asked for a better day, really. Mr Hobbs, we are really proud of you. Oh!
A day after their introduction, both bears are allowed outside together for the first time. Keepers have prepared the area with plenty of enrichment items.
They're going their own ways. They're going to find their own food. But that's okay. They're not both charging for their favourite thing and challenging each other over it. They obviously don't feel threatened by each other, so the fact that they're able to feed like this so close to each other, I'm glad about that.
Straight away, Mary ventures where Mr Hobbs has never been before.
Mary's made herself at home in the tree here. She's an excellent climber. You can see there that she's broken some branches. Not good for the horticulturalists, but Mary is really happy. The tree will grow again. Mary, you're not supposed to be in that tree. Mary! Oh, you naughty bear. We are just so pleased with how the two bears are getting on.
Best of all, after a few more weeks together, Mary's companionship is making a sensational difference to Mr Hobbs's behaviour. So far, exceeding keepers' expectations.
Because he's using up more of his energy now with Mary, he tends to be more tired. So instead of him having all that anxious energy that he was using to pace with, we do find that he's resting more now. Mr Hobbs hasn't played for a long, long time, so it's really good to see him with all this wrestling and rolling and chasing and patting and just all the positive behaviours that you would want to see. We've seen more than what we ever expected.
Next time, a lion travelling from New Zealand to Australia has to be fully sedated in quarantine. And just when keepers are at their most vulnerable, the journey takes a dangerous turn.
He's doing something. Stop, Jane!
And rejected by his mother, can a sickly baby koala win a life or death battle?